does a perfect VR gunstock look like? Well, I guess that would depend on your definition of perfect. And to me, this one is pretty darn close. As for what keeps it from being perfect, we'll address that later in the video. Right now, we're going to talk about everything I think this stock does right. The two biggest reasons to use a gunstock in VR, in my opinion, are first to stabilize your aim and improve accuracy, and second, to increase the level of immersion. And this stock ticks both of those boxes beautifully. Having a physical object like this, linking your hands together that you can pull into your shoulder, feels so much better than when you're just freeballing it with just the controllers in your hands. This is the Vader One, and as is hopefully clear from the title of the video, is designed to be used with the PlayStation VR2. It's an incredibly lightweight stock, coming in at 8.5 ounces or 242 grams. And with the controllers attached, it weighs a mere 1 pound 4.4 ounces or 577 grams. So for anyone worried about fatigue from carrying a stock around while you play, there is no need to worry. This is not an issue at all. You hardly even notice it's there, really. But being lightweight doesn't mean anything if the stock doesn't perform well. And this is something Kobra VR knows a lot about. They've been making gunstocks for virtual reality since 2016, so this ain't their first rodeo, and the Vader One performs just like you'd expect it to in-game. The tracking and Pavlov is absolutely perfect, and the gunstock in no way impedes with the use of any gun in the game. You're able to fire, reload, and charge any weapon without the stock getting in the way. Now, when it comes to using the stock with different guns, I really like that Kobra VR has chosen to go with a semi-permanently mounted design rather than the traditional magnetic attachment design used by other popular gunstock makers. With those types of stocks, when you want to switch to using a pistol or throw a grenade or something, you have to disconnect your dominant hand controller from the stock, which then requires you to have a shoulder harness because otherwise the stock falls to the floor. And then when you go to clip back in, you're fumbling around blind in your headset for several seconds trying to find it and reattach, which is super inconvenient in the middle of an intense multiplayer match. Since the Vader One is semi-permanently mounted to the controller, the stock never leaves your hand, so no sling is needed. And when switching to your sidearm or a grenade, you simply disconnect your front hand from the stock, grab your handgun or grenade, go about your business, and then swap back to your rifle once again. While you can do these things with the shoulder stock fully extended, the Vader One has a hinge on it for a reason. This allows you to get the shoulder stock out of the way, making handgun play feel much more realistic, and freely throw grenades without having to worry about the stock catching on your arm or smacking into things. While the magnets that hold the stock in the collapse position are small, they're actually quite strong. You can throw grenades pretty hard, and the shoulder stock stays nicely stowed away. As for how the hinge works, there are two magnets, one on each side of the hinge, which come together and hold the shoulder stock firmly in place when it's extended. When you're ready to collapse the stock, you place the butt stock against your shoulder, forearm, or anywhere in between, and then kind of lift your elbow upward and bring your dominant hand controller into your body, and it'll snap right shut. It does take some practice to get this down, but I gotta say, it's a lot of fun snapping the stock open and closed like this. To extend the stock, you just slap the butt with the back of your fingers like so, and you're back in business. Disconnecting your front hand is also super easy. The magnets holding it in place are very strong. If you try to pull them straight apart, it takes quite a bit of force to get them to release. But all you need to do is slightly tip your hand up. It will release, freeing your offhand to pull and slap in magazines and charge your weapon so you can get right back into the action. Reattaching does take some getting used to. Trying to find the proper placement while blind in your headset is a little tricky at first. But after only a couple of play sessions, I was able to build the muscle memory needed, and now reattaching is easy peasy. One of the things that's really cool about this magnetic attachment design is it allows you to cycle a bolt on a sniper rifle with your dominant hand. This is something you cannot easily do with similar Kobra VR stocks for the Quest 2. Cycling a bolt-action rifle in this manner does of course take some practice to become proficient, but it's something you can pretty well get down by spending 10 or 15 minutes using a sniper rifle in the Pavlov shooting range. This magnetic attachment system also gives you the ability to use pump-action shotguns. You can fire, disconnect, pump to load your next shell, reattach, and repeat. Or what I feel is the easiest thing to do in the heat of battle is to keep your front hand disconnected and pump and fire away. Another feature Falendorn has designed into the Vader One, allowing it to simulate a wide variety of guns, is tied to this thumb wheel here. When it's tightened down in this position, it's great for most all your ARs, shotguns, and sniper rifles. But if you're a fan of small SMGs like the P90, you can loosen this thumb wheel, slide your dominant hand controller forward, and now your hand placement is much more accurate to what you see in game. It's not perfect, mind you, but most games are pretty forgiving of your hand placement, so you don't have to be 100% on the money for it to work properly. Since this is a free sliding rail system, you can set your dominant hand controller wherever feels the most comfortable to you, or where it best matches up your hand placement with what you see in game, whichever you prefer. My Vader One came fully assembled. All I had to do was connect my PlayStation VR2 Sense controllers, which, like everything else about this stock, is quick and easy to do. To connect your dominant hand controller, you first need to remove this thumb wheel, which allows this clamp to swing open. You then place the front portion of the tracking ring onto this hook, like so. You'll then kind of have to rotate the controller around a little bit until the clamp properly closes around the tracking ring like this, at which point you can put the thumb wheel back on and tighten it down. The process for your non-dominant hand is fairly similar, but when it comes to the placement of the clamp, you may want to do a little experimenting to find what feels the most comfortable to you. As for me, I've found if I line up the left side of the clamp with this seam in the tracking ring, my hand and wrist feel pretty comfortable once it's connected to the stock. And just like with our dominant hand, once we've got the clamp in position, we can tighten down our thumb screw and we're ready to go. Just as a side note, Kobra VR does recommend placing the clamp as close to this seam on the tracking ring as possible to minimize potential tracking issues. Now, you may have noticed this little Picatinny rail on the bottom of the stock here. This is for a future bipod accessory Kobra VR plans to release at some point. I don't know when they'll be releasing them exactly, but Falendorn sent me one a while back, and it works on their Quest 2 stocks as well as the Vader One. It's something I don't see as having a lot of utility for most people, but for someone who's really into sniping and wants that extra stability using a bipod offers, that's who it's for. Overall, the Vader One is a really great stock. It's lightweight, it's fast and easy to use, and has great compatibility with different guns. But now it's time to talk about the few things that I feel keep it from being perfect. Because of the way the stock attaches to your dominant hand controller, you're left with very little room to press this button here, which on the right controller brings up your menus. Obviously, this isn't a super big deal, but I have fairly large hands, so it makes it kinda difficult for me to get my thumb in there and press that button. Also, in a perfect world, I would like the shoulder stock to be adjustable, similar to Kobra VR's Wolverine and Maglock Pro stocks for the Quest 2, which can be set to a variety of different lengths. The problem with that is those shoulder stocks are quite a bit heavier and don't exactly work well with the folding mechanic. So to keep the stock lightweight and allow it to easily fold down to use pistols and whatnot, I understand why this feature had to be omitted, and generally speaking, the length of the Vader One is really close, if not spot on, for most all rifles and SMGs. The only other thing I feel could be a little better is the hinge has a little bit of vertical play in it. Ideally, I'd like to see this not move at all, but it being an accessory for VR, there's really no need to be pulling it firmly into your shoulder, as there is no recoil like you'd get with a real firearm. The Vader One is available in both right and left-handed configurations and sells for around $110 US, including shipping. If you'd like to check the Vader One out a little more, follow the link in the video description to Kobra VR's Etsy store where you can take a look at it. And if you're ready to pull the trigger and purchase one of your very own, you can most certainly do that there. Subscribe!